any apologies.
Kia ora, Dave. Te tuatahi mihi atu kia tata katoa. Tēnei te mihi kia koe te koromatua, Max, o tira kia koe te tumua ki whakarai Tanya, o tira tata katoa. I mua tō tata hui ka ino i tata ka kariki reira. Nō reira I ka ino I tātou. Pauhiri, paurarama, pau o te whakaaro, pau o te tangata, pau o te aroha. Te pau e heria nei I a tātou, mauri tū, mauri ora, haumia huie tai kie. Nō reira, tēnā tātou.
It's just for you. Yep.
Okay, we'll go pau o te tangata, pau o te aroha. Te pau e heria nei I a tātou, mauri tū, mauri ora, haumia huie tai kie. Nō reira,
I don't know whether I don't personally think we need to make a resolution on that. It's not actually. Okay, we'll go officially start our meeting.
Pau e heria nei I a tātou, mauri tū, mauri ora, haumia huie tai kie. Nō reira.
Am I right there?
Mr. Chair, through you, Andrew, are you there helping with this meeting?
Where's he gone?
He's there, but he's muted.
Oh, you're on mute.
I suppose that, yes, technically it's not in the town. I think the actual discussion was around maybe the issue of people camping. I don't know, but whether you want to just have a discussion about it, I've got no further advice to offer really, except to confirm that yes, it's on highway land and it's not in the Kāwhia Community Board.
We don't really need to come up with a resolution, so we can still just discuss it in open discussion later on.
Yep, I think that's probably appropriate.
Well, then, thank you, Andrew. Hang on. Just trying to watch everything on my phone. Still going. Confirmation of the order of the meeting. Let me discuss the part of it. I'm pretty sure we've already got that. Now, declarations of conflict of interest. Anybody no conflicts of interest? That's good. Do we need to pass this as a motion that we've? No, we shouldn't do that for conflicts of interest, do we?
No, there are none.
Again, sorry, Andrew. What?
There are none.
Yeah. Okay. So again, nothing on the public forum. So we'll move straight into confirmation of our minutes from the 25th of February. Which I haven't actually got a copy myself. I've actually deleted a couple of things from Kāwhia there.
Well, I'd move the acceptance as true and correct record.
Thank you, Kent. I'll second that. Oh, Hinga can second that. Thank you, Hinga. Turn my volume up a bit. Oh, no. Okay. So, okay, that leads to my chairman's verbal report. It's not too much again, really, because there hasn't really been that much happening and going on through the COVID. But the good news for us all is it looks like the mandates are being eased. Looks like our town can start getting back to things. I know some of our businesses have been struggling with the lesser amount of people coming out and just the bit of fear from the different outbreaks, like the Omicron lately. There's been a few cases in town. I had it myself last week. I had a positive result. So you will stay home for 7 days, but I think it seems to be on the decline. So yeah, that's all we can. And everyone, I think everyone's looking forward to just opening back up. I know our sports club's been struggling again, like it sort of does every year, but just the COVID just made it really hard. I think even for the cafe, the shop, the garage, the whole lot of them. So it'll be a welcome thing opening back up, and people feeling better about moving more freely. Right, that's really all I've got to talk about. There's been nothing else happening. So, anybody want to move to accept my report?
Yeah, I'll move it, Dave.
Okay, thank you, Kit. And,
I'll second it, Dave.
all right, thank you, Ken. So basically, then we're straight into item 71, which is Andreas. Afternoon, Andreas. How you going?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, and through you, everybody else, good afternoon. And thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to start off by asking if everybody managed to read the report that I so diligently wrote. It is quite self-explanatory, mainly because it was already an item that was discussed briefly in the previous community board meeting, where it was raised, and this is where the request came from. So in a summary, there's a risk around speed in the area of Pōiwi Street and Jervois Street intersection. It's quite a pedestrian heavy area where there's conflict between vehicles and pedestrians at times, especially during school holidays, etc. The children like to go to the library to go and make use of the free Wi-Fi service. And being a high-risk area for vehicle and pedestrian conflict, the solution proposed is to install a raised pedestrian platform. I have got a photo of a similar, and this one was particularly in Hamilton, and there are many of those examples around all over the country, but also particularly in Hamilton. They are very effective. They do reduce the speed, and it's a fairly financial financially it's a fairly good solution for the problem. So if there's any questions around it, I can answer more technical questions if you wish, or if there's going to be a debate about this, feel free, Mr. Chair.
Right, thank you very much, Andres. Personally, I thank you for the great job there. I'm all for it. It's just the only question I would have is if we okay, how long before it happens?
Yeah, that's we're obviously going to try and do it as much as possible, quickly as possible. And the idea was that we will ask individual contractors to provide us with some quotes or pricing. But it all depends on the current resourcing that the contractors have got. We have got our main contractor, which does most of this type of work. They are quite under stress regarding their own manpower resources. But there are others, specifically in Kāwhia themselves. We will definitely get in touch with one particular one, unless there's others that we can approach. So we would hope to have this done before the end of June. Regrettably, I cannot give a firm date because of the issues around the COVID and people getting sick and the resourcing problems that the contractors have got.
Thank you.
Through you, Dave. Andreas, can we leave the start of that until after Anzac Day?
By all means, if you wish to.
Yeah, I think because we normally have a parade here, and I think anything that's going on in that area is just going to muck up the whole parade. So if it can be left till afterwards, that'll be cool.
Yeah,
just a quick question. The photograph that you provided and the plan where the platform is going to go. in the photograph, there's like a pedestrian crossing in the middle, going across the middle of it. Where do you see the pedestrian crossing being placed on the proposed platform? Because it's obviously not going to tie in exactly with the photograph.
No, Mr. Chair, through you, this is not going to be a pedestrian crossing because all three will act as crossings, all three being raised. So each individual one will be accessed by the pedestrians, but it will not be a pedestrian crossing. Pedestrian crossing is a formal thing, and that's got to be go through a specific process to establish whether that is the correct place or not. This is a traffic calming device, and that is what I specifically said in the report, that this is not a pedestrian crossing. It is a raised pedestrian platform.
We did talk originally about it being an ideal crossing point, if you like, for mobility scooters and wheelchair and that sort of thing. Yep. So with the height of the platform on Jervois Street in particular, going across from the corner across to the pub, would that be at the same height as the curb that exists there, the same height as the footpath that's there already?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will match that whole lot in. If there's any conflict with some water, there will be some, like stormwater, there will be a bridge, there's steel bridges, the grates that we'll put in to get that from the footpath onto the platform.
Oh, that's great. It's a very good report, Andreas. Thank you.
Just through you, Mr. Chair, that one that you see in the photo is actually not a pedestrian crossing. You don't see the diamonds and everything that indicate it as a formal pedestrian crossing.
You know, you'd mentioned all the stuff before about the pedestrian crossing, so no, thank you. Anybody else with any questions for Joyce? No, we're good. So, Ken.
No questions. I'd just like to say I support the proposal.
All right, thank you, Ken. Hang out. Yeah. Dip. No, all good. Okay, I'll move a motion that we accept the report. And
I'll second.
Oh, thank you. Right, so it takes us on to item 72, the planning report, which is you. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is just a routine report on planning statistics for a quarter of the year, in this case, the last quarter of calendar year 2021. Strong growth signalled by these consents, particularly the large number of subdivision consents. And within those consents was approval for, I think, the best part of 20 residential lifestyle blocks, mainly around just south of Ōtorohanga and around the northern part of Ōtorohanga. So yeah, happy to take any questions. There's not a lot more detail in the report than a bunch of numbers. So.
I think it's all pretty self-explanatory then, Andrew. I don't think anybody's got anything. So I'll move that we accept the report again.
Second.
Ken, second. Thank you, Ken. That moves on to item 73, which is our Animal Control Officer's report.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Chair. Again, it was the last quarter of calendar year 2021, and it's just a summary of reports and call-outs attended to by our Animal Control Officer. So happy to take any questions about that.
Looks like it's all go. Nobody's got anything. No, I haven't got any questions either. So, okay, once again, I'll let someone else move that we accept this.
I'll move that we accept that.
And
I'll second.
Thank you. Who was it? Hang it. Yeah. All right, and then now we move on to item 74, which is change of meeting dates for 22. And everyone's got them on the list. There's the 29th of April, the 27th of May, the 23rd of June, the 22nd of July, the 26th of August, and the 23rd of September. So we all good with that? Anybody want to change in those dates, or yeah?
All makes sense to me.
Are you busy, Hinga? Is it hard to plan?
Again, like this again. Oh my gosh, yeah, no, all good.
Okay, well, would you like to move that we accept this then here?
I will move this. I will move that the dates
I'll
for
second
the
it.
dates.
I'll second it, Dave.
And Ken will second it. Thank you, Ken. And that leads us up to the board members' update. So we'll just go through our board and let's see what we've got to talk about. I suppose this is where we talk about the camping thing as well. So would you like to start off first, please, Hinga?
O tēnā tātou beautiful people on this Friday afternoon. Yeah, I must say I've been on the board for nearly, the full term, and meetings on Friday afternoons. I'm getting a little bit used to it, Dave. But anyway, nō reira tēnā tātou. Yeah, so yeah, I'll start off with a bit with the camping, because it was it's a bit like Tenfield down there sometimes, and I did inquire about. I didn't realise that it's not in our area until in this forum here. So I did flick an email through to Kit, and there was a suggestion that we went like I just can't remember at the moment, Kit, that we were going to contact Waka Kotahi or something like that we can, because the thing is that like my concern is like, where are they going for the whareiti, the washing and everything like that. Yes, it's a concern. So this is a forum that I'd like to bring it up. I come back in and then I just see tents coming up on the weekends, and I'm thinking to myself, like, where are they all going to the whareiti and everything like that. So yeah, just for discussions anyway. So should we discuss that now? Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Kia ora,
respond to Hinga. Kia ora, Hinga. Yeah, thanks for bringing it up. This was a matter that was raised at the recent council meeting as well. And Tania and I had a discussion about who does what in the jurisdiction of that area. And it's quite clear that it's under the jurisdiction of Waka Kotahi. So the only suggestion that was made was that perhaps as a board, if you wanted to pass some sort of a resolution along the lines that that the board or the council or both just continue to lobby Transit New Zealand or Waka Kotahi to see what can be done in that area. The problem that you've got really is that if it is as stated that it is under their jurisdiction, it's a matter of how they would enforce any bylaw or whatever they want to do with that area, how they would actually control it. And I think that's going to be a problem irrespective of who the owner is, to be honest. So, but notwithstanding, I think probably it wouldn't hurt just to keep raising it, and so that it's always on the radar there for them. And maybe if we do it often enough, they'll get sick of hearing us. It's the old squeaky wheel might get the oil. So that's just a suggestion. Yeah.
Okay. I'll just check with you, please, Andrew. Just while he's finished here. Well, what's the story on the freedom camping as far as the council goes?
So we have no restriction apart from campers staying overnight on the streets inside the communities at Kāwhia, Aotearoa and in Ōtorohanga. There's no other restrictions throughout the district. There is a review of the freedom camping legislation underway at the moment, and it may be that something spins out the end of that. I mean, just as a comment though, the assumption, shouldn't always be that people aren't doing the right thing, and that people maybe do the right thing and they take a chemical toilet along with them, and they make adequate provision. They have a swim in the tide. Is it any different to anyone having a dip in the ocean out at Te Puia Springs? I mean, can't always assume the worst of these people. I think a lot of them have probably got quite a strong connection to that land, and I don't think they would willingly do anything to befoul it. So, yeah, it's just my observation.
Okay. Ken, you got anything you'd like to add, please?
No, but Tanya's got a hand up.
Oh, sorry, Tony. I saw that.
That's
Yes.
all right, Mr. Chair. I was using the little hand signal, but sometimes it's hard to see, eh? Through you, I think probably what I'd like to understand from Councillor Jeffries when he says we keep lobbying, we keep the pressure on Waka Kotahi, what does that mean and what does it look like? Because my suggestion to you would be, if this is of such a concern to the board, that you feel compelled to do some sort of advocacy, etc., then would it not be appropriate for a formal letter to go from the board to Waka Kotahi so that it's on the record, both in your minutes, but also there's a communication to that agency that actually has identified that you believe, on behalf of the community, you believe that there's an issue there, and you would like a response from them as to, you know, a formal response as to what they see of the matter and maybe what they can and can't do about it. That would be just a suggestion.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's thanks, Tony. Yeah, no, you're quite right. I probably didn't make myself exactly clear when I used the word lobby, but I think probably something formal like that would be ideal, and at least it gets it on the table, doesn't it? But that's if the board wants to, of course.
I suppose the only thing you can lobby or work on them with as well, maybe, Kit, is the fact, like Hinga's saying, you know, have they got proper toilet facilities? Because that is an area there where a lot of people stop and gather kaimana. You know, the oysters are usually prolific up there, and you've always got people gathering. So you'd want to be wary that people won't have self-contained facilities, maybe. Just the other one while I'm on it there, Kit, is I know a few years ago when it was Pauline Pinney's father and mother and father used to camp in their bus down Pooty there all the time at the end of the old bridge. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Hunnell was the chairman of the board at the time, and you guys actually made a resolution or made a move and put some boulders there to stop him parking his bus on that side. Am I correct with that?
That's what happened. Yeah, we got Ross Dockery to put some big rocks there so he couldn't physically park the bus there anymore.
So what was the difference of parking there to across the road?
None. Just that was the spot he favoured, so that was the strategy to stop the practice.
So do we put rocks across the road on the other side too now?
I don't know. I don't own the road. I don't know if I'd like someone putting rocks on my road without my permission.
Well, on the road, on the grass, it's, you know, that's it's that pullover road through that gets them in there, right? Because you've got that little drive through where there used to be the toilet, the school bus used to stop and all that. But that's why I think people think, oh, what? Look, there's a pull off here. We can pull off and we'll just park over here and camp up. I can't really see what the difference was there to the other side, and how come it seemed okay to block the other side of the road off, and now it's not okay to block this side. No, nothing.
Yeah, Dave, there's the issue too of you probably know better than I, but who actually mows that area? I think that's done by a local, isn't it?
Yeah. JJ.
Yeah, and does he get paid for that, or is it just a voluntary thing?
I think so. I don't know actually. I always thought he did.
I can answer that, Mr. Chairman. I think there's two mowing sort of people involved in that. One's sort of like a topper mower on the back of a tractor, and then our mowing contractor does a bit more sort of manicuring mowing in the Pooty Reserve. So yeah, we do look after it, which is probably unusual for a state highway reserve too.
Yeah.
But it's just something that's been done for many years.
I think that was the point I was making. I think thanks, Mark, but I think that was the point I was making, Mr. Chairman, was that if a letter does go to Waka Kotahi, I think it should be pointed out to them that this community, or this council, has actually been funding the maintenance of that for years, and maybe it's payback time.
Okay. I suppose the other one we have to look at there too then is do we really need to have that reserve mowed? But, you know, are we just mowing it to accommodate campers? Or do we just look at mowing, say, the road edge, come in a couple of metres like we do other places? And I don't know, is that something worth discussing? And don't everybody answer at once?
I think that kia ora, through you, Mr. Chair. It looks nice for the you know, like for our area if it is mine. I know years ago Lou Sherman used to organise and pay whoever to go down and mow that area. He did that for a long time. But I know it just, it's nice to keep the place looking nice. It is a site of significance for mana whenua, like all that area. There is history around that area, so it is nice to keep that that area looking nice and just looking after it. That's where the concern was with the camping, is because it is a site of significance, and it's good that we're discussing it here, because if it's not discussed, we don't, you know, if we don't talk about it, we it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. So that's why I wanted to bring it to this forum, just to discuss, and it's just good to talk about it, and just to look up, even though it's not in our area, but it's good to look after that, because I said as part of the Kāwhia moana as a whole, because of the history that's there. So that's why that's hence why. But yeah, you are right too, Andrew. There is probably they probably have, you know, people are probably taking their you know, the right equipment down there, but there are frequent campers down there, like when I go past, and what annoys me is that rubbish does get left in that area where the trees are, and like rubbish, and that's the annoying part as well. And you know, like us, like, you know, whoever wants to go pick it up and take it, we do that, just to keep the area looking nice. So that's all anyway. Ka pai?
Thank you. Okay, and just before I say, Jeff, would you, anything you'd like to add to the discussion, please, Jeff?
Well, we had a similar situation down at the mussel farm and the boat ramp at Ōtorohanga, and there was nothing we could do about that either. So, but at least we kept mentioning it. So, and in the end, they went away and lived somewhere else. So. But I understand your concerns, Kinga. We go past there on a regular basis, and you do wonder what they're doing in the bushes there. But in all fairness, I've popped in and had a look, and they seem to be, whoever they are, they're keeping the area clean. So.
Okay. Oh, well, it's
Cool. So
Max, would you? Well, sorry.
Sorry, no, you carry on, Mr. Chair.
I was going to say, Max, would you like to add anything to that discussion? Please. Not really. No. It's a bit of an awkward one, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Sorry, it is an awkward one. It's probably taken personally by the people that go past here, and they see it, you know, as Hinga said, a fairly important piece of land. But I mean, it's where do you start and where do you stop with people parking on the roadside when there is no bottle to stop them? We don't have the resources to patrol it. It is on a state highway. There's a whole raft of questions that are pretty bloody hard to answer. Look, I mean, if the community board wants to send a letter, I'm not really sure what the content of that letter would be, but hey, it's we're all free to make our own decisions.
Thank you, Max. I'm just trying to come up with my agenda here.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I've just got one question. Just talking about the rubbish. I know. This is a question for the council. Is there still? There used to be the wahine used to drive her truck, and she used to pick up all the rubbish. Is that still? Is that still a mahi for somebody? Within. Oh yeah, she's still doing that. Cool.
Aye. She is. Mark or Andreas might want to expand on how far out Lil does her work, through you, Chair.
Yeah, I think Andreas is probably best to answer this, but it's a state highway. Lil doesn't go out state highways, does she, Andreas? No.
No. No, she only does local roads. But I believe there was they did go out there recently, the state highway people. So Fulton Hogan is the current, what they call the NOC contractor. So that's what Inframax is to us. Fulton Hogan is to state highways. They have a schedule and they go out at certain times. I'm not sure what exactly their schedule is, but let's say it's 4 times a year. So every 3 months they go out and they have a look and they clean up. So that area was also part of that.
Okay.
So we don't service that area with our litter control.
Well, thank you, Andres.
Kumaturo, Dave.
What's that? Sorry.
I'll finish. Kumaturo.
All right. Okay, thank you. Okay, it's all finished on that. Our next item, what else did we have on there? I'm sorry, Kai, I've lost
Sorry,
my...
Mr. Chair, can I just ask a question? He pātai taku.
Sorry, I see him again.
Yeah, so this is a question that hasn't come from my brain, it's come from someone else's. Are there actually no camping signs out there?
No.
Could we use the Bluff Act, Andrew, and put a couple of no camping signs up and pretend that we've got a bylaw? I know this has been live streamed, so it's probably not a great idea, but
No.
yeah.
Is it appropriate we put signs up on someone else's road?
I don't know. Is it appropriate we put rocks on someone else's road?
Different times.
Oh,
Well, it's not actually on someone's road, is it? It'll be on
Hang
our reserve land.
Hang on, get iwi to put them up.
yes, leave
Then
it with
who
me,
can
mate.
argue?
Aye, kia ora for that.
Because if it's council reserve, then we own it, don't we? We own the land.
No, it's Waka. It's Highway Road Reserve.
Highway Road Reserve.
Yep,
It's not our reserve
it's not our reserve.
So why are we doing the maintenance on it with the lawns?
because we're being kind.
Yeah, because when we stopped, sorry, Mr. Chair, when we stopped mowing it in the past, which we did for a while, the area became very, very unkempt and overgrown, and we then responded to complaints about it being an eyesore, and we recommenced mowing it. So the wheel turns. You can make that decision again. and
Would we
we'll
be better off then
having
looking
a-
at planting it?
Once
No.
again, would
Not
you want
ours.
someone to come and plant
That's
plants
nice.
all over our roads? I mean, that's the problem you have when you don't own something and you want to see an improvement on it.
Okay. So yeah, we're a bit stuck on this one, aren't we? Really? Is that just see what goes with? All right. Okay. I'll suggest we'll move on to our next one. That was your item. Hanger, did you have anything else you'd like to discuss or bring up there?
Ko kumaturo, Dave.
So you're cutting in and out on me, Hanger. Sorry.
Ko, I'll finish kumaturo.
Thank you. So go around. I'll do my board first then. Ken, please.
Well, I think as most of you know, I've been battling health issues since about the middle of February. At the worst, I'm virtually incapable of doing anything. And at the best, I'm just about myself. So I've really been right out of touch with what's happening. So apart from the fact that I'm battling my health issues, I don't have anything to report.
Will you take care of yourself, mate? Okay. All right. So we'll move on. Next one is Kit, please.
Oh, thanks, Dave. Yeah, we had a council meeting last week, and I think most of the items that were on that have been pretty much canvassed or covered today. The only one was perhaps Antania or I see Graham's connected to us, would be just to bring the board up to speed with what's intended with this year's local government elections in terms of how the voting papers and all that sort of stuff are to be sent out, and when and how and all that sort of business. And perhaps just take a moment to think too that we've got This year we've got 2 Maori ward councillors to elect, and I'm not suggesting that we go out and lobby anyone, but you might like to have a think about who would be someone that might be a good representative for this area, for the Maori ward. And so there's a couple of thoughts there. But anyway, I'm happy to leave it to Tania and Graham to talk about the voting papers. The other thing I just wanted to have a quick chat about was, Hinga, you've raised before the issue of the storyboards for Kāwhia, but also the picture, you know, the photo frame or whatever it is that you wanted to call it. And it's been pointed out that we have that the board does have a discretionary budget of, I think it's $5,000 a year, and that if you wanted to go ahead and get something organised, if you go through the right channels there's probably nothing to stop you from actually going ahead and doing that, as long as you you know, agree on the location and all that sort of stuff too. So I don't think the funding is so much of a hindrance. It's just a matter of getting something underway there, I think. So I'll leave that one with you to think about. I had a quick chat to Ashley Davis earlier in the week. For those of you who don't know Ashley, he was a local boy. He's a very, very talented artist, graphic artist, and I just happened to talk to him about whether he'd be interested in perhaps coming up with some concept plans or ideas for the Kāwhia sign that's on the state highways, the one in particular by as you're coming from Ōtorohanga before you turn onto Mutiny Road. There's one sitting in the field there, and we did talk at one stage too about putting something similar at the intersection of State Highway 39, 31 as you're coming from Ōtorohanga. So he's going to have a chat to some of his friends and colleagues and come back to us with a few ideas for you to have a look at, to see whether or not there's anything in there that you'd like to proceed with. I'm suggesting at this stage that that perhaps there may be some funding available for this through the District Development Board, but I'll take advice on that. So that's sort of underway, if you like. We get something cracking there. And what was the other one? Oh, the veranda at the old post office is apparently underway as well soon. So that was pretty much it from me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kit. Move on to you.
Mr. Chair, can I just direct a question to Councillor Jeffries? It's important that, Kit, that your designer is aware of the highway regulations around signs. So it's not a carte blanche for some artistic license. It has to comply with their rules. The idea is that the sign is visually striking and it imparts information but doesn't distract. So you would have to run any sign past them for approval before you go and put it up. So please let him know that he can't just be totally inventive here. He's got to be cognizant of what the guidelines are around the signs before he starts his design work.
Good point, and I did make something along those lines to him, Andrew. So we'll see what he comes up with.
I can send him the bylaws if he wants. So he knows what.
Yeah. Well, perhaps do
I'll
that.
Send them to you.
Send them to me, and I'll forward them on. Yep, that'd be good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. Jeff, please.
Afternoon, everyone. First off, I'd just like to start off with something I neglected to do. The last meeting was to thank Mark for a very comprehensive report on the LTC wall. And just asking, we've got a community meeting on Monday, the 18th of April. Is there anything, Mark, that I could pass on to that community board, that community meeting then?
Probably not much more than what we've already discussed. I know Stephen is working on some design work around the sort of repairs.
Yeah.
So if we've got that sort of presented by then, we might be able to show that. I know Andreas is heading out there next week to look over the wall and look at the portion that holds back the road for less than other descriptions. So yeah, so we may have other developments from that after he's been out there next week.
Thanks for that, Mark. The cell tower is erected out here, and a silly question: what you wonder why they don't paint the damn things green in some cases? So at least they blend in a bit with the forestry around here. Eh? And I was looking at it, well, there's such an obvious solution, isn't it? But a question on that I've been asked through the community is there a site rental paid to anyone for that cell tower? Andrew, would you know?
I'm not aware
Yeah.
that they pay a rental, but they pay rates.
They pay rates on the portion, do they?
Yeah, infrastructure is rateable.
Okay.
So that will be attract rates. So the value of their assets is assessed in the district, and then they get billed for rates. So, and so go. I think, I'm not sure, but I think
Oh, he's locked up on us. No, I think you're locked up on us, Andrew.
Yeah, we've lost you, Andrew.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I'll pass it on to the community meeting, and on that community meeting, it's 9 o'clock on Easter Monday, and Kit, you're welcome. I know you like attending those things. We have a good representation of the community there. I know, Tony, you've seen the forestry update that's come through on Morrison's, very comprehensive, you know, and we're looking forward to having certainly what appears to be a very safe traffic management plan around the intersection of State Highway and the Aotearoa Road. Hopefully they leave that large mirror behind so we can use it at a later date. And just like to say that there's an awful lot of building activity around Aotearoa at the moment. The village is getting busy, and a lot more permanent residents moving out here. And if I could pass on to the Ōtorohanga District Council, just the thanks of the community for that fast response for the traffic calm measures and the signs and everything that's going up around here. I appreciate that. And that is all. Thank you, folks.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Primo. All right, my turn then before we move on to the council staff, but really what I want to talk about the most is this Te Taio Kāwhia thing. So if anything, Andrew, could we just see how you got on with this changing the beach road designation? Or
Mr. Chair, that's down as a confidential agenda item after the meeting, we'd prefer to keep it that way at this stage, if that's okay with you.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's all right. Well, yeah, I haven't got too much or anything to bring up. Maybe perhaps hear from Graham just right now about the Maori ward voting that Kit was alluding to before, which are changes in my plans.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair, and Tanya may want to add some little snippets of wisdom here as well. But I guess leading into the elections, it's sort of there's sort of been some changes to the Electoral Act, and a lot of responsibility has gone back on chief executives, and it's sort of at this stage, I think our big push needs to be around getting people on the electoral roll. And you know, whether there's a sort of a combined initiative with us and the potentially the Electoral Commission in doing that, particularly those that can be on the Maori roll, that they identify as Maori, they'll need to be on that roll to vote. And also we need to, I think, in terms of just what Councillor Jeffries raised before, if we're looking at getting a good standard of people standing for both the board and for council, we probably need to do some sort of candidate kind of, I guess, briefing sessions out there, just to sort of tell people what's involved as far as being a councillor and how much time's involved and you know, you know, so it's not such an unknown. And then there's got to be a strong push leading into the elections in terms of getting people to actually get out there and vote. You know, local body elections traditionally have very low voter turnout, so I mean we need to you know, have a real push there as well. So Tanya just sent an email around this morning, which was quite timely. So we're looking at putting together like a little working group with some of the key staff that'll be involved with that, obviously with Kāwhia from a governance point of view, and also our other electoral staff as well. So yeah, pretty big piece of work, and I think the better that we do it, the better going forward. So yeah, Tanya may want to add some bits to that as well.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So Max and I attended the Local Government New Zealand Zone 2 meeting this morning, and one of the items on there was voting and encouraging people to vote. So our council has signed up for an initiative with Local Government New Zealand and Tai Tuara, who represents the staff of councils, to work together on encouraging people to stand and encouraging people to understand what's involved in being a councillor or a community board member. Some people are still told that, you know, oh, don't worry, it's only one meeting a month and, you know, just show up and she'll be right. Whereas particularly for a councillor, there's a lot more to it as well. So Waikato Tainui have put together an amazing resource for Māori who want to stand or be involved in the election that was talked about. I haven't been online to see that myself. So yeah, there's some really good resources that are going to be produced. We'll be part of a national campaign, but we also need to have our local people helping us as well. So yeah, I think after this meeting with staff that Graham just talked about, we'll probably bring a bit of a plan back to the community boards and to council, and also share that with our iwi partners as well in terms of encouraging you know, them to help us get people on the roll and encourage people to stand.
Right. Thank you, Tony. Okay, before we go on, because we haven't got much other. Oh, is any discussion?
Sorry, Dave. Can I just through you, Dave? Can I just clarify something with Graham, just so that it's quite clear to everybody? Graham, correct me if I'm wrong, but anyone can stand for the Maori ward, but you have to be on the Maori roll to vote for them. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, Kit.
Yep.
Yes, you can stand for a Maori ward. You don't have to. You don't have to live in that ward. You don't even have to be Maori, but only those on the Maori roll will be able to vote for. Yep.
And I think that's a very important point to make. That if there are Maori who want to be involved in that election, they really need to come and see you or whoever and get themselves sorted out ASAP. Because it's almost too late now anyway, isn't it, for this round?
To go on to the roll. No,
well,
they can.
I just seem to recall you saying at one of our previous meetings when we were talking about elections that is there a time lapse between you know, getting onto the roll so that you can actually vote?
Yeah, no, so I see what you're saying, Kit. Yeah. So if you're on the general roll, you can only change to the Maori roll once every 5 years, and that's tied in with the census. So those that have registered on the general roll can vote for the general ward councillors, but they won't be able to vote for the Maori ward councillors. So it's just a very unfortunate glitch in the legislation, and it's quite restrictive, and unfortunately they haven't changed that, and I think that we were hoping that would be changed. So if they're not on the roll at all, they can register right up to the election. You can even register as a special vote right up to the election. But if you're on the general roll, you won't be able to change into the Maori roll until I think it's every 5 years. So it's probably another couple of years away. It'll be outside this election.
Right. Yeah, and I think that was the point I was making. Thanks, Graham, for clarifying that. And I think that's an important issue that the Māori need to understand. That's the point I'm trying to make. Yep, good. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kit. Tanya, just one quickly, is our discussion about the septic investigation, is that for after the meeting as well?
No, I think we can update you on where that's at now. Mark will probably have a better idea, or Andrew, than I do.
Yeah, I spoke to Ross earlier today through the chair. I can give a quick update. The only part that's probably changed since our last meeting was that the consultants have been out and done the on-site investigations, and we're still waiting for their report. The feedback we got from them was a really good, positive sort of investigation, and it was well received from what they've said. So we've had no other issues come back from that. So we're just waiting for their report. We've had some initial testing back from some stormwater sampling we took earlier last month. And we're just waiting for the second round of sampling and results to come through so that we can start forming a bit of a picture of what the water is like flowing into the harbour through some of those more major outlets. So that's about the update. Obviously, when we see that report, we'll know more about the sort of next steps. Yeah, any questions I can might be able to answer for you?
Okay, well, I was a bit concerned and in agreement with Kit's answer to Ross's email about this these consultants and it being a visual inspection for the tanks. Now, you know, I thought, oh no, you're pulling my leg, you walk on a section and say, is there a tank there? Well, I can see a mushroom. Yes, there might be. Or I can't see a mushroom. No, there's not. How do they identify or do anything? You know, we're paying consultants to go and walk on a section to say, oh yes, is there a septic tank here or not?
Yeah, I think the key is we wait for their report. But I can speak personally from my experience that if you walk onto a property and there's an issue with a septic tank, you don't need to do any exploratory digging to notice it, and that's the sort of data we'll pick up. The difficulty with doing digging or drilling or trying to do a physical inspection is if you do uncover problems, where's the liability lie at that point? So there's always an element of risk when you start doing exploratory investigation. So it is a visual, but these guys are known for doing this sort of work, and I'm sure once we see the report, we'll get a really good idea of the issues that were found or the issues that weren't found. So yeah, so I think instead of preempting that report,
I think further, Mr. Chair, the thing to remember is that this isn't the only leg that this investigation stands on. I mean, I've just sent them through, I think about 20 odd, maybe a bit more soil reports that we've received over the last 10 years from building consent applications and applications to install wastewater systems on properties. So then, as well as what they see on the ground, they're also building up a profile of the soil layers under different parts of the town, and they're feeding all that information into their report. So yeah, there's many strands to this. It doesn't live or die upon what they see in their walk around over one week of the year.
Thank you. Tanya.
Oh, I just wanted to add to what Mark and Andrew said. I mean, I've had first-hand experience of this because I ran the consenting team at Otago Regional Council, and I actually went out for 3 days with our septic tank inspector, who did all his work from above the ground, basically. And I was actually amazed at the amount of detail that he got just through observing, a trained observer being able to spot when a septic tank was working and when it definitely wasn't. So I learned a lot. I ask that you please trust us. I'm feeling like the emails have a little hint of mistrust, and I'm really open to elected members asking us questions, getting clarification. I know this is quite an emotive subject and a project that carries with it, the kind of weight of the community. But yeah, I support Mark and Andrew and what they've said about this is only one piece of the puzzle, and we're doing multiple kind of pieces of work to bring that all together, and the board will get to see that first when it all comes together. So yeah, please just kind of bear with us while we work our way through it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, this one is it's just about the end of our meeting. Max, is there anything you'd like to add or talk about with us just before we finish our meeting?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Probably not a lot to add. It's just I'm still working on that technical working group on the rural water schemes for the Three Waters reform, which is going quite well. There's a lot of work. Well, the last meeting we had was mainly around discussion around marae and Papakāinga, and having potable drinking water in both those locations. And the challenges around that, I mean, first off is I suppose catering for tangi as much as anything. You get a big influx of people, and how does that work for having potable water? The next question, especially around Papakāinga going forward, is it's all very well getting potable water in there in terms of a filtration system that's adequate, but it's also got to be maintained, and there's got to be the funds there to maintain that. And we're not talking about the next couple of years; we're talking 5 years and 10 years down the track. So our last meeting was a fair bit of discussion around that and a lot of work to do. You may have seen or heard or read that initially when the DIA was doing the investigation into the Three Waters reform, especially the rural water schemes, they thought there was about 2,500 schemes. They've found at least 75,000 so far, because anybody who supplies water to another house is deemed to be a water supplier or a water scheme, which has just brought up a whole raft of challenges. So Te Mata Arawai, who's the water regulator now, they've openly said that this is going to be a long process. It's not something they're going to rush into over the next year or two for a lot of these water schemes and entities, so it will take time. So yeah, a bit of work being done in that space right across the country. The other thing which I think has been really positive for Kāwhia in recent times has been the employment hub based in Ōtorohanga and spending a day a week out in Kāwhia. What it has done for our rangatahi getting driver's licenses, what it's done for them getting skilled up and into employment has been incredibly invaluable for a community such as Kāwhia. And my big challenge at the moment as Chair of Mayor's Task Force for Jobs is ensuring we've got funding in this next fiscal year, next financial year, which is from 1st of July. And at this stage, we haven't had any word, and I can't get word out of anybody in MSD or any of the politicians as to whether that funding is still coming through next year. So I've got $14.5 million per annum resting on this. And I won't say my reputation, but it probably is in some respects. So yeah, I've got a bit of work to do in that space, because we really need to keep on supporting our rangatahi right across rural New Zealand into employment. So yeah, that's probably the couple of things I'm doing at the moment. At this stage, unless things go horribly wrong, I'm still standing again in October. So I suppose watch this space as well. That's all from me. Thanks, Dave.
All right,
any questions, please fire anything at me too. Yeah.
No questions.
Who was that? No.
Mr. Chair, if there are no questions, you can't rush to close the meeting. You've got to move us into public excluded, and that requires a motion, and then we'll discuss the confidential issue. Then we come out of public excluded, and then you can close the meeting.
I see how it works. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, but I need to message Brendan and let him know that we're going out and for him to shut the live stream off. So can we just pause when we do that so that I can make sure I give him enough of a heads up to do it? All right.
All right, thank you, Tony. Is there anything that you'd like to add before we do that, Tony? Anything to?
No, thank you.
No, we're good. Nothing else, Mark or Andrew?
No, thanks.
No. Okay, well, I move a motion that we move into special meeting or special part of the meeting. How'd you phrase it, Andrew? Sorry.
Yeah, just move into public excluded.
Kaya,
Sorry.
sorry, can I just get clarification here? Kaya, is it a workshop that's in the confidential part of the meeting?
Yes, it is.
So
no
we're closing this meeting and we're moving into workshop.
Oh,
that is
okay.
correct, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. All right.
So sorry, Dave, you're right. You can close the meeting.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Andrew. So, okay, it's 2:03 by my clock here. I'd like to officially close our meeting for today, the 25th of March. And thank you, everybody. And we're going to move into our confidential meeting as soon as we've got Brendan back online. Thank you. Thank you, Kyle.
Okay, just hold on a minute while I'm just messaging and